a video on not pasta alla Gricia, which I pronounced wrong. Again, I still haven't looked it up, and it's not even that. It's something that's I took and I made it into something else, and then I'm going to make something else into something else. So we'll cook the pasta and I'll waffle. Pasta alla Gricia is, if I say it with an Italian accent, and it must be true, is fundamentally fatty bacon made from the pig's jowl, guanciale, pasta and cheese and pasta water, and you make a sauce with the pasta water and the starch from the pasta and the fat from the bacon, and that combines as you're cooking the pasta, and you add cheese and it creates like a cheesy sauce. It's delicious. It's delicious because you use guanciale. And I made another version of it where I kind of substitute some of the pasta for some vegetables. It was delicious. You kind of get the, because you cook the vegetables in the same at the same time as the pasta. We'll need to that one. So we need to cook for 5 minutes. So, because you cook the vegetables, the carrots, at the same time as you cook the spaghetti in the pan and combine it with the sauce at the same time, you get the flavour from the vegetables leaching out into the sauce. It was delicious, and I was just kind of thinking, can we make a version that didn't have the bacon in? So can we emulsify the sauce with olive oil instead of the bacon fat, and using the pasta water as well? So a little bit of an experiment. If it works, it'll be nice. I think it'll work. I think it'll work. So we've got 150 grams of pasta. It's cheap pasta, cheap supermarket pasta. There's nothing special about it at all. It's the cheapest one they sell. It's about 40p for 500 grams. We've got 75 grams of hard Italian cheese. This one actually happens to be Parmigiano Reggiano, because that's all the supermarket had. Normally I would just use a cheap one, because I like to cook things, I like cheap meals. I like the idea of cooking something using cheap ingredients and making something taste amazing, rather than just taking amazing ingredients and putting them all together, because of course it's going to taste amazing. It's a little bit more hard work making cheaper things taste nice. And so we've got 400 grams of carrots. That was the weight of the carrots before I peeled them and before I julienne them. We get a little bit of waste with the julienne. We get that much waste and a few peelings. I used a Japanese finger slicer, mandolin, and we're going to use some courgettes as well. So there was, before we prepped, I never weighed the courgettes. Yeah, there's about 400 grams of courgettes as well. I've just top and tailed them. But what I kind of think is important is to kind of talk about the insides of the courgettes, because they're a bit, for want of a better word, a bit pappy. There's nothing much kind of really to them, so you just need to use the outside. So it's just like a swipe on the outside a couple of times, and then I'll kind of show you what I mean. So we don't need to use the finger guard for this one. Saying that, I'll probably now cut myself. So we just go through once and then again, and we'll just have a look. Oh, it's okay, we haven't gone through to the centre yet. So that there, and then we'll take a couple of swipes off each side, or maybe 2 or 3. So we just want the outside, we don't want the inside. Get a bit more off there, like that. The inside starts to get a bit wet, that's where all the seeds are, and it's just not quite as firm, and it just doesn't hold together, and it wants to go a little bit bitty. And the bigger the courgettes are, there's more centre to them. That kind of makes sense to me. So we'll do the same with the other one. This one's a bit bigger. So we'll get a couple of swipes off each side. We'll pretend it's square. It's not. It'll be square by the time we finish. So that, and then press down, get some knot, and then just take it down till we get to the centre. Now see, that's where if you actually see that. So we're starting to see where the seeds are there. There probably won't be actually seeds, because they are cultivated in a certain way that they probably don't actually produce seeds, but, or maybe they're just the seeds just before they start to grow. So we want the outside, we don't want the inside, because it starts to go soft like that, and that's no good. But we're going to do something with that. So we're not going to throw it away. Or you can just put it on compost, but it's a little bit of a waste. If I'm honest, but I think we can do something with that, which will probably be the next video. So that's the courgette. The carrot, there is no waste on the inside of the carrot. It's just you can't slice it all down because you start getting a little bit too close to your fingers. So what we're going to do is we want a tablespoon of olive oil in the pan, about that much, which is going to be the alternative for the bacon fat that we took from the guanciale, and start heating that up because we're not that far off from the pasta. So we'll carry on cooking the pasta in this pan. We'll cook the pasta for half the amount of time that it's supposed to stay on the packet. It says about 11 minutes on the packet. We're going to cook it for 5. We're going to finish off the cooking in this pan with the oil, a little bit of water from the pasta and the pasta itself. It'll carry on cooking. Starch will, and here we go. Starch will come out of the pasta and leach into the pasta water, and that is going to start forming the basis of our sauce. Like that. Turn the pasta water off. I've got a ladle this time. I'm a little bit more prepared. Maybe I should practice before I do videos instead of just winging it. No, because I think that's kind of quite boring. So, pasta starts to fry, we don't want to do that, so we'll take some of the pasta water, which is a little bit of starch in it, and it's got some salt in it as well. And what will happen, hopefully, is that the olive oil and the starch from the pasta will start to form an emulsion. It's kind of started, it's gone a little bit cloudy, which has started the emulsion, but the olive oil doesn't want to just boil into the water just as much as the bacon fat did. Is it really bacon? It was cured pork. I don't know if that's classified as bacon. So the carrots take longer to cook than the courgettes, so we're going to cook the carrots now at the same time as we're finished on cooking the pasta. Like that. What's going to happen is the carrots are going to steam. They're going to release some of their flavour and some of their liquid into the pasta. We'll season a little bit, and we'll get like a combination of kind of flavours. So we'll get like the juice, the liquid or juice that comes out of the carrots is going to go into the sauce as well. So it will make an interesting sauce. So I was kind of thinking, is this a little bit like a chow mein stir fry? Like a noodle chow mein stir fry? And it probably is. It probably is. Is kind of way I can kind of describe it. But we're going to add cheese, which I don't really think the Chinese people use or make cheese in the same way that we do. I don't, because there is no kind of Chinese cheeses to kind of think about. So, alright, okay, we're getting a little bit of emulsion, but we need some more water in there. Like that. Maybe a little bit more. So what's happening is, the carrots are cooking, they're releasing some of their flavour and liquid into the water. The pasta's carry on cooking, it'll be too hard to eat at the moment, it'll be completely too al dente. But as it cooks, it's releasing starch into the liquid in the pan because we're moving it around, and that's what's going to form our sauce. So it's kind of pasta, vegetables and cheese sauce. I don't know what that is. So I'm just kind of curious. I think it'd be nice. We're just going to see, does it actually need the guanciale element of it. I'm not entirely sure that it does. It might just work without. It's not, I haven't used a good olive oil either. I've just used the bog standard olive oil. So it's not extra virgin or anything like that. It just seems like a bit of a waste. Yeah, it's okay. So that, you can see there, is the start of our sauce. It's orange in that colour, and it's gone cloudy because the oil has emulsified into the liquid, and it's orangey in colour because that's the flavour and colour that's come out of the carrots. So, as that's going to be the basis of our sauce, it's going to be delicious. Normally when you cook vegetables, flavour leaches out into the water. If I'd have cooked the vegetables in there, you lose flavour and nutrients in the water. So all those flavour and nutrients are going to probably have destroyed some of the nutrients by cooking, but all that flavour is going to go into that. Yeah, pasta's still way too hard. But it's nearly there. So when it's almost ready, the courgettes aren't going to take very long to cook at all. So we'll then throw the courgettes in. I'm reluctant to put any more water in because I know the courgettes are going to release some of their water into that. Because we're moving things around quite a bit, what would happen if we used the entire centre, that bit of the courgette, it would have fallen to bits in the sauce and we wouldn't have like noodles of vegetables. So that can go in now. I think the pasta will be cooked enough. Now it's just a case of moving things around just so the courgettes cook but are still nice and al dente, and then when they're slightly wilted and the pasta is al dente, then we know it's ready. But it needs some more water in. I don't want it to fry. I suppose calling something a stir fry is slightly wrong as well, because you're not actually frying when you make a stir fry, because there's liquid in the pan, so that's not actually frying. Okay. Courgettes are wilting down. Pasta will almost be ready. A little longer. I need a little bit more salt. So what's happening is the flavour from the courgettes is flavouring the sauce, but it's also flavouring the pasta as well. You don't have to do cheese. You could just fry the vegetables. Right, it's not really fried, but cook the pasta and the vegetables in this way. So it actually would be completely vegan. As long as it was vegan pasta, this would be a completely vegan dish. But we're going to add cheese, because that's what the experiment is. So, have we got enough liquid? Yes, we've got enough liquid. The pasta will be cooked. Yeah, pasta's cooked. Heat off. Excuse eating with my mouth open. And then cheese in. Cheese is going to melt. We need to turn the heat off when we cook this. When we add cheese, because if we heat the cheese, it's highly likely it's going to split, and that's not what we want. We want the cheese just to melt and combine with the liquid underneath, and that's what's going to form our sauce. It's quite a thin sauce, and it's going to coat the vegetables and the pasta. So 75 grams of Parmigiano Reggiano, and then just move things over in the sauce. The heat of the pasta and vegetables will hopefully melt the cheese and form a luxurious sauce. Just moving around. We'll see. It's starting to coat it. Has it got onto my tongs? It normally starts sticking on my tongs. That's okay. Finger again, but it doesn't matter because it's me that's going to eat it. What's happened with the sauce? It's alright, maybe a little bit too much liquid. Maybe could benefit from a little bit more. Is the cheese going to melt? It is melting. I made this and I used cheese that was too old and too hard and didn't melt properly, and it was a disaster. But it was still nice. But it's not always the chef that goes wrong. So there we go, cheese is melted. To all intents and purposes, pasta is cooked. Sauce is kind of formed. Nah, it's not really melted. No, it's not particularly good cheese for doing this. It was a cheap cheese that worked. Kind of works. Maybe there's too much liquid. It might have been too much liquid. I might need to make this again. Yeah, that was too much liquid. Yeah, that's not wanting to mix into there. But anyway, let's taste it. Let's see how we go. I won't do that. Won't take a picture of that. We'll eat this one. So the cheese is not melted just the way it should do. I don't know if that's because of the oil, and it would melt into lard a little bit better. Let's give it a taste. Yeah, you can see the cheese hasn't, it's hot enough, it just hasn't wanted to melt the cheese and combine with that. I don't know if that's because of the cheese, or we're trying to mix it into olive oil. I wouldn't have thought it really mattered. But it's an animal fat, isn't it? And that's a vegetable fat. I don't know, I'm not entirely sure. Tastes nice though, the cheese just hasn't melted. That might be down to the cheese. I don't want to blame the cheese, because that's a sign of a bad person, not a bad person, but a bad chef or a bad tradesman, that they blame their tools and the equipment. But it might actually be down to the cheese, because it's happened, it hasn't worked in the past before because of the cheese. I might buy some cheaper cheese and see if that works. But it tastes nice. It tastes nice. I don't want to heat it up. And it hasn't just coated the sauce in the same way. But it's nice. It just hasn't coated the sauce like a proper pasta alla Gricia. So we'll just have to have a play around. But I'll do the... Yeah. I'm not having much luck with videos recently. They're just not going exactly where I want them to do. But I think that's half the process and half the fun that we live and learn. But anyway, it's nice. Tastes nice. I think maybe just a little bit less water, and we'll try it with a different cheese next time. Yeah, a cheaper cheese instead of proper Parmigiano Reggiano. But anyway, it kind of works. It's kind of delicious. It's just not exactly how I want it, but it's nice all the same. So you will see this video. I won't just kind of banish it toward the bin, but I'll revisit it. I'll be doing this again. I'm not going to fail. I never do. We just change and adapt and carry on going until we succeed. Right, so it has kind of worked. It has kind of worked. It has formed a sauce. It's a little bit, there's a little bit of oil on the top of it, but olive oil isn't, olive oil is olive oil, it's not fat. But it's formed a sauce like that, and that's not a bad sauce. It's not a bad sauce. I mean, it's thin and it's emulsified, just not as emulsified as we would have liked. I think this could work. I mean, it's quite, when you do that, it's quite luxurious. It's just not sticking to the vegetables and the pasta just as well as I would have liked. Maybe less water. Kind of maybe need to, shouldn't have added that last bit of water to it, and we would have got a better sauce. Not a failure. Not a failure. A learning experience. We can do this again and it will work. I'll buy some cheaper cheese and I'll try it again in a week. I don't want to be eating it every night of the week. I ate it on a couple of days ago and it was lovely. The other version with the bacon, and it was lovely. But I don't want to be eating it again this week. But we'll try it again and we'll see how we go. I think yeah, we can do that. And then I can incorporate the other idea that I wanted to do into it as well, but I haven't got that ingredient. But anyway. Is it a success? Is it a failure? I'm not entirely sure. It's certainly going to go somewhere interesting though, because it tastes really nice. So it tastes really nice, and it doesn't look exactly how you want. That's a success, isn't it? You know. But we'll see. We'll give it another go sometime.